Sit back and think honestly. Do you really think it's impossible to own a debt-free, mortgage-free, single-family home in the US today, even in 2026, with just $150,000 in your pocket? If you're browsing real estate websites in states like California or New York, then yes, it's impossible. There, that amount of money will only cover a down payment on a home, and you'll be in debt to the banks for the rest of your life. But in Texas, things are very different. However, there's a huge catch here. While real estate agents rave about Texas's affordable homes, they never tell you the hidden truths behind those properties. They don't mention that hidden salt tax that corrodes your air conditioners every year. They don't tell you that you'll have to hose down your home's foundation to keep it from splitting in half during the summer drought. Or they try to sell you on towns where the economy and security are run by massive state prisons through flashy ads. In this video, we're throwing all those flashy real estate agent lies and glossy brochures in the trash. We're laying out Texas's 10 cheapest cities, where you can practically build a kingdom with the $150,000 in your pocket, with full infrastructure, but at virtually no cost, with complete honesty, including their pros, cons, and the most up-to-date data. You'll see places where, if you sell your home in California and move here, you'll have a net $500,000 in cash left in your pocket, and you'll never have to pay a mortgage again for the rest of your life. Sit back, grab your tea or coffee. Our honest journey to Texas's hidden real estate paradise is about to begin. Number 10, Wichita Falls, fully developed, free of charge. Welcome to number 10 on the list. Before I tell you about this city, I'd like to ask you a question. How many cities are left in the US with a population of over 100,000, a university, a regional trauma center, fiber optic internet infrastructure, and where you can still find a home for under $150,000 in 2026? I'd say the answer is 0. But wait. Because you haven't seen Wichita Falls yet. Actually, it might be a bit unfair to include this city on this video's list, because the other places you'll see in the coming minutes are a bit more isolated, quiet, and sparsely populated towns. But this is a real city. It has a population of over 100,000, and its economy is thriving. Here's the really interesting part. Even though it's this big and developed, it's still cheaper than many small towns in Texas. If you go on Zillow and check out home prices, you'll find plenty of homes around $150,000. You can go check for yourself. If you're a Californian watching this video, these numbers might sound like a joke to you, but that's the reality. Today, the average home in California hovers around $900,000. While you'd pay nearly $468 per square foot there, here you pay just $60. So with that same $150,000, which would cover only a 16% down payment in California, you can buy a home outright here. Of course, as is the case everywhere, you need to know where to look here as well. You can easily find these affordable homes in the historic downtown area with the 76301 zip code, in the 76309 Faith Village neighborhood, or in the 76306 area right next to the military base. But don't go looking in the southwest part of the city, specifically the 76310 area, where the luxury homes and top-rated schools are, because if you go there, prices will skyrocket immediately. Number 9, Kingsville, an oasis, 40 minutes from the beach. Let's step away from the hustle and bustle of Wichita Falls and head a little further south. This is a true cowboy town. It's also known as a naval town. This is Kingsville. Are you tired of other states or the high cost of living in big cities? I felt like a real estate agent for a moment, but don't worry, I'm just telling you the facts. I have nothing to gain from this. Are you retired or working remotely? Actually, this town might be just right for you. And if you love the ocean, it's a truly beautiful place. It's only 40 minutes from the coast, about 40 to 45 miles. Let me tell you a bit about home prices on Zillow. The average price on Zillow hovers around $147,798. Active listings, on the other hand, are around $186,500. Here's another thing. Normally, homes across Texas or across the U.S. appreciate in value every year. Prices go up. But here in Kingsville, home prices have dropped by 6.28% compared to last year. So, for the homes we're looking at, there aren't multiple offers, and there aren't any auctions. Sometimes a home listed at $160,000 sells for $150,000 or $155,000. For example, let's say you have $150,000 in your pocket. For instance, on Santa Cecilia Drive, you can buy a 3-bedroom brick house with a massive yard for $150,000. Plus, with its spacious interior, the price per square foot works out to be extremely affordable. Now take a look at this house on East Kennedy Avenue. It's truly beautiful, and the price is only $148,000. Well, if you're wondering about the local economy and what the area has to offer, first off, there's the Kingsville Naval Air Station, where half of the U.S. Navy's jet pilots are trained, Texas A&M University, and the legendary King Ranch, which is even larger than the state of Rhode Island. You know those famous Ford King Ranch pickup trucks? This is exactly where that legend was born. It's the world's most famous ranch. Also, thanks to the base and the university, the locals get along well with people from out of town, and the streets are very peaceful. The crime rate is a full 58% below the national average. So why is such a beautiful town so affordable? There are no lies on this channel. I'm telling it like it is. First of all, there are no tech companies here. The median household income is around $58,000. So it's a good town for retirees and for remote workers. Second is the heat issue. As you know, Texas is very hot, and it gets extremely hot here too. Air conditioning is a must in every home. It gets really hot around noon, for example. Also, for concerts, events, and the like, you'll have to go to Corpus Christi, which is about 40 to 50 minutes away. For serious medical issues, you'll still need to go to a major city. Additionally, the property tax rate is relatively high at 2.59, but since home values are low, the annual bill averages only $1,981. So it's cheaper than the national average. If you're thinking, I want to relax without breaking the bank and go to the beach every now and then, this is a great town. It's worth considering. Now, let's leave this cowboy town behind and move on to number 8 on the list. Number 8, Beeville, a security fortress with renovated infrastructure, resistant to crises. If I asked you what you'd think about living in a town with massive prisons on its streets, most of you would probably say, I wouldn't want to live in a place like that. Most real estate agents won't tell you this. They'd rather you not back out of buying the house. But I'm telling you, actually this isn't such a bad thing. That's because just outside this town, there are a total of 3 massive Texas state prisons housing 7,000 inmates. There are also 1,300 state employees working there. So what does this mean? It means that 1 out of every 4 people walking around town is a law enforcement officer. That's why this place is truly safe. In fact, not a single murder was committed here in 2025 or 2026. According to 2026 UCR data, property crimes in the city have dropped by 78.5% and vehicle thefts by 59.4%. Anyway, let's get back to the topic at hand. In 2026, the median home price in Beeville was around $159,000. For example, let's say someone living there listed their home for $160,000. When there are no buyers for months, it's easy to negotiate a lower price. You might even be able to buy it for as low as $145,000. For instance, a move-in ready, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom single-family home on North Tyler Street is priced at $127,500. As for that solid ranch-style home on East Anderson, it's very easy to bring the price down to the $150,000 range with some tough bargaining. Geographically, Beeville is just a 1-hour drive from Corpus Christi and the Gulf of Mexico beaches, and 1.5 hours from San Antonio's hospitals and airport. While homeowners along the coast have to deal with hurricanes, storm surges, mandatory bonds, and thousands of dollars in extra TWIA insurance premiums, Beeville's inland location means you're virtually free from these risks. This is another town I'd recommend. But don't make a decision without seeing the one in third place.
7. Paris, Texas. Fully equipped, free of charge. If I were to put an Eiffel Tower like this on your screen right now, you'd probably think this was France. But there's a bright red, 3.5-foot tall Stetson cowboy hat perched on top of this tower, and this is Paris, one of Texas's lush, forested towns. As you know, Texas is usually very dry. But instead of drought, this place gets 58 inches of rainfall a year, is surrounded by massive reservoir lakes and hiking trails, is rich in water, and, I can honestly say, it's a little slice of heaven. Plus, prices are really, really cheap. Let me tell you a bit about this place. First of all, as you can see on the screen, home prices in the 75460 zip code area are around $144,900. If you're wondering why they're so affordable, it's because after the Great Fire of 1916, the city was rebuilt with stone and brick by the famous architect J.L. Wees. As a result, the price per square foot for homes drops as low as $45. If you say, I can't deal with renovations, I want a home that's ready to move into and in good condition, you can buy this house you see here for $139,000. It's said to date back to the 1950s. Local real estate agents will tell you that the median home price is around $230,000 due to their commissions. However, those prices are inflated by the cost of newly built homes in the southern suburbs. In the old city center, homes stay on the market for an average of 97 days before selling. In fact, it's reported that 76% of homes sell for less than the listed price. So, what kind of work life awaits you if you move here? First of all, you should know that white-collar, desk jobs are a bit hard to come by here. Forget about office jobs in a skyscraper. About a quarter of the workforce is employed in heavy industry and manufacturing. Indeed, in March 2026, the town's lifeblood, the Campbell's Soup Factory, which had been in operation since 1964, ceased canned soup production and switched to an automated sauce plant. As a result, a WARN notice was issued, permanently laying off 205 unionized blue-collar workers overnight. This is actually quite recent news. So people are starting to move to Dallas, about 100 miles to the south. If you're retired, it's a town worth considering, but if you're still actively working, this might give you pause. Anyway, let's move on to the next town. 6 Plainview. Factory closed, home prices plummeted for good. And here we are in Plainview, one of my favorites. The first thing I can tell you about this place is this. If you buy a brick house here, you'll definitely need to learn how to water the foundation. Yes, you heard that right. To prevent it from cracking during the summer drought, this town is built on Pullman clay soil, which is highly prone to expansion and contraction. In the summer, it gets so hot that the soil dries out so much the concrete foundation shrinks, leaving a gaping void underneath, and unsupported houses crack, or even split right down the middle. I'm serious. Take a look. In fact, local advice says you have to keep the soil consistently moist by burying underground drip hoses around your house. Otherwise, that cheap house you bought could end up costing you another house's worth of money in a single day. Speaking of cheap, why are these houses so cheap? They really do come out to about $100 per square foot. The answer actually stems from an event in 2013. The Cargill meat processing plant, which had been the town's sole source of livelihood for 40 years, closed due to severe drought in the region. Of course, since about 13% of the town's population worked there, thousands of people lost their jobs. And people began moving away. However, to prevent the town from turning into a ghost town, it underwent a massive logistics and renewable energy transformation. The old factory was converted into Walmart's massive, fully automated logistics center, and in the fields behind it, Texas's 4th largest wind farm was built. But of course, since technology has advanced, not many people work there anymore. As a result, people's wages have remained limited. This, naturally, has affected home prices. For example, let's make a quick comparison for those looking to escape towns like Tulare or Merced in California's Central Valley region, which is struggling with food packaging and water crises. For a 1,500 square foot home, you'd pay $251 per square foot in Merced. That's about $376,500. In Mendota, you'd pay $305 per square foot. That's about $457,500. But in Plainview, you can become a homeowner for about $100 per square foot. That is, for $150,000. Share your thoughts in the comments. Would you want to buy a home here, or does California make more sense to you? 5. Sweetwater, a town far from the coast, full of wind and tax-free. And now let's head to Sweetwater, a fascinating region in the vast, flat expanse of Texas, where more than 1,400 massive wind turbines spin endlessly, and tens of thousands of people flock every March just to catch rattlesnakes. Welcome! Here too, homes, take a good look at the screen, cost around $150,000 or $140,000. So why are they so cheap? If you ask, well, explain that to us. It's because those massive wind farms, not you, pay the utility bills. When the oil wells from the 90s dried up, Sweetwater made the decision to start producing wind energy. And today, this renewable energy industry accounts for nearly half of the massive tax base in Nolan County. Individual households, people like you and me, make up only 19% of the tax burden. This is what we call a tax cushion. How does it work? Thanks to the millions of dollars in revenue from wind energy, the local government keeps property tax assessments so low that if you buy a $150,000 home, your annual net property tax, with Texas's homestead exemption, comes out to only about $2,381. Since the salaries of technical maintenance workers and blue-collar workers in the region aren't very high, home prices don't skyrocket. This prevents a real estate bubble from forming in the region. If we compare this to California, in industrial rural towns like Mojave or Taft, which are part of California's wind and oil basins, you'd have to spend over $280,000 for a standard 1,500 square foot home. In Sweetwater, however, the median sales price per square foot drops to an incredible $77. This means you can buy a single-family ranch-style home of the same size for an average of $115,500 and put over $160,000 in net cash into your pocket. Of course, there are downsides to it being this cheap. While the wind is perfect for generating energy, it practically sands down the exterior of your roof. An even bigger problem is the water shortage. As of 2026, due to peak water scarcity and severe drought, the Oak Creek Reservoir, the town's main water source, has dropped to 18.8% of its capacity. Watering lawns and filling pools are subject to restrictions and fines. Be sure to keep this in mind. Let's move on to the next town, Fort Texas City, an affordable coastline in the shadow of industrial giants. Right outside your window, massive refinery towers illuminate the sky, flaring torches shoot into the air, and chemical emergency sirens occasionally echo through the town's streets. Most recently, during the major fire at the Marathon facility in June 2025, residents living between 14th and 34th Streets were ordered to close their windows and stay indoors. This isn't one of those palm tree-lined beach towns you see in those charming Texas City brochures. This is one of America's largest refining hubs, where more than 850,000 barrels of crude oil are processed every day. Let's start with another comparison to California. Even living in industrial areas like Richmond or Carson in California, which similarly host massive oil refineries, costs around $768,000. Just look at the home prices. But thanks to Texas's flexible zoning laws, home prices in zip code 77590 are even below $150,000. You can buy a home for exactly 4 times less. The reason I'm making so many comparisons to California is that I'm comparing these two major states. So, is the only advantage here the affordable housing? No. There's a strong corporate sponsorship mechanism here. The Marathon Galveston Bay facility, one of the Western Hemisphere's largest oil refineries, along with chemical giants like Valero and Dow, single-handedly cover a large portion of the city's tax base. They also fund the city's roads, parks, and emergency services. This corporate power also benefits homeowners. The annual property tax on a $150,000 home comes down to about $1,608. The effective tax rate is 1.07%, which is even below the state average. Of course, many major accidents have also occurred in this region. For example, the 1947 SS Grand Camp ammonium nitrate explosion and the events of 2005 were truly tragic. Furthermore, chemicals in the air can sometimes pose a problem. However, the massive 21-foot-high earthen levees built by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers protect the city from the risk of flooding. So, it could be one of the places worth considering for relocation. But don't make a decision without seeing the top 3 first. 3. Corpus Christi, a cheap dream at the bottom of the ocean, and the salt tax. And here we are at the 3rd spot on our list that's winking at you. Here, palm trees, and especially the cheap beach houses, are truly beckoning you. But there's something else beckoning you, and here it's called the salt tax. What does that mean? Let me explain. Constant winds blowing from the sea toward land at a speed of 40 miles per hour, combined with high humidity in the air, to carry sodium chloride aerosols all the way into the town's innermost streets. This salt mist can corrode home air conditioners, which would last 15 years in a normal town, here rendering them unusable in just 5 to 8 years. Oh, and before I forget, there are also necessities like washing the house with fresh water every week and, to protect against moisture damage, sanding down and repainting the exterior roughly every 3 years. I'm not even factoring in the rusting of car undercarriages. If you're asking, so why are you showing us this place? Well, this is the coast, my friend. We have to put up with these things too. It's precisely because of the reasons I've just described that real estate prices here are dropping so much that you can find homes here at prices you'd normally never even dream of. Take a look at the prices of these homes. There are plenty of houses for $170,000. You can even find ones that are cheaper. Of course, when moving here and planning your budget, you must never forget the insurance details and plan wisely. Since private insurance companies have pulled out of the coastal area, storm insurance for homes is now covered by the government-backed TWIA pool. With the new regulations taking effect in 2026, the storm deductible you'll have to pay out of pocket in the event of a hurricane has been set at 2% of the home's value. So, if a $150,000 home sustains storm damage one day, you'll need to have $3,000 in cash in your bank account for the insurance to start paying out. When you combine standard storm insurance with a national flood insurance program, NFIP policy, your annual insurance costs can reach $3,000. But being able to breathe in the ocean air every morning when you step out onto your balcony, I think it's really worth it just for that. What do you think? To Galveston, the seawall protected island paradise that Airbnb investors are fleeing. And here we are at number 2. Remember how, just a moment ago in #3, we mentioned Corpus Christi's infamous salt tax? How the humidity from the sea means you're constantly having to clean your air conditioners. Now we're taking that salty smell up a notch. Because this time, we're cutting off all land connections and heading to Galveston, Texas's most historic true island. The island currently has a massive 17-month housing inventory, and the market is completely frozen. Short-term rental and Airbnb investors, who once flooded the island, began selling their properties after being crushed by skyrocketing operating costs. Thanks to this slump, average home values on the island have dropped by 6.5% year over year, and a full 82.4% of properties on the market are selling below list price. So haggling is pretty standard here. So, if you're asking what we can buy with our $150,000 budget, which we can't increase any further, let's forget about the beachfront villas. However, you can find beautiful homes in those historic streets, specifically in the Central City area. Historically, this area is filled with high-ceilinged wooden homes built for dock workers after World War II. If you look in areas like 7108 Holiday Drive and 4801 Avenue P1.5, you'll find the prices I mentioned. If you're thinking about insurance, adding annual TWIA and National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP) policies, as mentioned earlier, brings the annual cost to about $3,000. here's a tip to help reduce your insurance costs. The island's residents, fed up with the major hurricanes of the 1900s, built a massive 17-foot-high granite seawall. Not content with that, they even lifted the entire city off the ground using jacks, placed 16 million cubic meters of sand fill underneath, and raised the island's elevation. If you choose a home in the inland areas protected by this historic seawall, specifically the areas known as the X zone, you'll face much lower insurance and tax costs. Keep that in mind. One Snyder, the champion who built a kingdom on a $150K budget. We've now reached the #1 spot on our list. Thank you for watching this far. Wait a minute, the video isn't over yet, because there's a perfect place, Snyder. Here, there's no ocean salt mist or any other hassle. This is one of those flat, open areas in Texas. It's so affordable that after seeing the crazy price hikes in Texas's major cities, you won't believe your eyes when you see this place. While median home prices hover around $140,000, some urban properties can go as low as $92,000. For example, there are places like 2711 Avenue V or 3001 42nd Street. But you'll have to act fast, because, like the other properties on the list, this one won't wait 90 days. Homes sell within 10 to 15 days at most. So, what's keeping this place going? Why is it so cheap? Snyder is situated directly on top of the legendary Kelly Snyder oil field, located on the eastern edge of the Permian Basin. This is one of the sites where the world's first large-scale supercritical carbon dioxide injection was carried out. To date, a total of more than 175 million metric tons of carbon dioxide has been injected underground. While this incredible pressure pushes the underground oil upward, it also triggered small, magnitude 3.0 artificial earthquakes in the region at the time. In some places, slight ground uplift was even observed. About 30% of the workforce is directly employed in drilling, logistics, and blue-collar heavy industry jobs. Since the average household income has remained steady at around $59,000, home prices here neither rise nor fall dramatically. Let me put it that way. Of course, alongside these wonderful aspects, there are some issues as well. For example, it gets extremely hot here in July, as of July 14th, 2026. Of course, I'm not there right now. I'm in Texas. It's really, really hot. You want to go out and explore, but the heat can sometimes be stifling. It's a bit of a strange situation. Also, because water resources are scarce here, you can only water your lawn once a week. Otherwise, there's a fine. So it's really a strange place, but beautiful. I really loved it. Which town did you like the most? I'd love it if you wrote in the comments. See you later!